The wrestling world just exploded with news that nobody saw coming, and what I'm about to tell you will change everything you thought you knew about the next few months in professional wrestling. Seth Rollins is dealing with something that could alter the entire landscape of the main event scene. The Usos are heading in completely opposite directions after years of brotherhood. AJ Lee's highly anticipated comeback has been pulled from under our feet, and Brock Lesnar's WrestleMania plans have taken a shocking turn that will leave you speechless. Before we dive into all these insane developments, make sure you hit that subscribe button because you don't want to miss any of the breaking news coming your way. Seth Rollins has been wrestling through pain for months now, and everyone in the locker room knew something was seriously wrong, but the architect kept pushing forward because that's what champions do. The latest reports coming out of backstage sources indicate that Rollins has been dealing with a significant knee issue that has been getting progressively worse with each passing week. He's been working through the injury because WWE needed him for major storylines and television tapings, but the situation has reached a critical point where medical professionals are getting involved. The injury isn't something that happened in one specific match, but rather the result of years of wear and tear combined with his high-flying style that puts tremendous pressure on his joints every single time he steps through those ropes. What makes this situation even more complicated is the timing, because WWE has major plans for Rollins heading into the summer season and potentially beyond. He's been positioned as one of the top stars on Monday Night Raw, and losing him for any extended period would create a massive hole in the programming that would be extremely difficult to fill. The company has been in constant communication with Rollins about the severity of the injury and whether he needs to take time off for proper treatment or if he can continue working with modifications to his in-ring style. Sources close to the situation reveal that Rollins himself is torn between doing what's best for his long-term health and his commitment to the company and the fans who pay to see him perform. The medical staff has been monitoring his condition closely and running tests to determine the exact nature and extent of the damage. Initial evaluations suggested that rest and rehabilitation might be enough to get him back to full strength, but more recent examinations have painted a more concerning picture. There's talk that surgery might be necessary if the condition doesn't improve with conservative treatment, and that would mean months on the sidelines during a crucial time in his career. Rollins is still relatively young and has many years left in the business, but these kinds of injuries can become chronic problems if not addressed properly, and that's what has everyone worried behind the scenes. The creative team has been working on contingency plans in case Rollins needs to step away from active competition for a while. They've been discussing various scenarios that would write him off television in a way that makes sense storyline-wise and leaves the door open for a major return down the line. Some of the ideas being floated include having him lose a major match with stipulations that force him to take time off, or having a backstage attack angle that explains his absence. Whatever direction they choose will depend entirely on what the doctors say and how soon Rollins needs to have any potential procedure done. Moving to the USO situation, and this is where things get really interesting because nobody expected the brothers to actually go their separate ways after everything they've been through together. Uso and Jimmy Uso have been one of the most successful tag teams in WWE history, with multiple championship reigns and classic matches that will be remembered for years to come. Their work during the Bloodline storyline elevated them to new heights and showed everyone that they could carry dramatic storylines just as well as they could deliver in the ring. But now it appears that WWE is ready to split them up and push them as individual competitors, which is a bold move that could either pay off huge or backfire spectacularly. The seeds for this split have been planted over recent weeks, with subtle tensions and disagreements playing out on television. G has been getting massive reactions from the crowd, with his entrance and his catchphrases becoming part of popular culture in a way that nobody predicted. Jimmy has been equally impressive but hasn't quite captured that same lightning in a bottle moment that his brother has experienced. WWE officials have noticed this difference in crowd response, and they believe that G has the potential to be a major single star if given the right opportunity and the proper push. That doesn't mean they're giving up on Jimmy, but rather exploring what both brothers can accomplish when they're not tied together as a team. The creative direction for this split is reportedly going to unfold over several weeks rather than happening in one explosive moment. WWE learned from past mistakes where they rushed breakups and didn't give the storyline proper time to breathe and develop naturally. They want this to feel organic and real so that fans are emotionally invested in what happens to both brothers moving forward. There will be moments of conflict and disagreement, but also callbacks to their history and their family bond that makes the eventual split feel even more impactful. Some reports suggest that one brother might align with a major star while the other goes in a completely different direction, which would create natural rivalry without forcing them to feud with each other immediately. The question everyone is asking is whether both Usos can succeed as singles competitors, or if separating them will expose weaknesses that were hidden when they worked as a team. Tag team wrestling has always been a tricky situation in WWE because very few teams have successfully transitioned both members into meaningful singles careers. The Hardys managed it, Edge and Christian accomplished it, but for every success story there are dozens of teams that broke up only to see both members flounder. The Usos have the talent, the charisma, and the family legacy working in their favor, but they'll need strong booking and compelling storylines to truly break through as individual stars. Now let's talk about AJ Lee, and this is the story that has so many fans disappointed and frustrated because her return was supposed to be one of the feel-good moments of the year. AJ Lee walked away from WWE back in 2015 at the height of her popularity, and she's remained largely absent from wrestling ever since. There have been rumors and speculation about her coming back for special appearances or even a full-time run, but nothing ever materialized until recently when reports started circulating that WWE had reached out to her about returning for a significant role. The excitement among fans was incredible because AJ was genuinely one of the most talented and charismatic performers of her generation, and seeing her back in a WWE ring would have been special. According to multiple sources, the company had preliminary discussions with AJ about coming back for an appearance at a major event and potentially sticking around for a short program that would help elevate the current women's division. The idea was that her star power and connection with the audience could bring attention to younger talent and create dream matches that fans have wanted to see for years. AJ was reportedly interested in exploring the possibility and had even started having conversations about what her role would look like and how much time she would need to commit. Everything seemed to be moving in the right direction, and insiders were quietly optimistic that a deal would get done. But then everything fell apart, and the return that seemed so close to happening has now been completely cancelled, with no plans to revisit it in the near future. The reasons for this sudden change are complicated and involve factors from both sides. On WWE's end, there were concerns about how AJ would fit into the current women's division and whether her presence might overshadow the full-time performers who have been working hard to build their own legacies. There were also questions about her ring shape after being away for so long and whether she could still perform at the level that fans remember and expect. These concerns led to hesitation from some key decision-makers who weren't sure if bringing her back was the right move at this particular time. From AJ's perspective, there were issues with the creative direction that WWE wanted to take with her character and disagreements about how much control she would have over her presentation. She's been very protective of her legacy and didn't want to come back just to be used as a nostalgia act or to put someone over without proper build and storytelling. There were also scheduling conflicts and personal considerations that made committing to any kind of extended run difficult. When it became clear that both sides couldn't reach an agreement on the terms that would make everyone comfortable, the talks broke down completely and the return was officially called off. The cancellation of AJ's return has sent shockwaves through the fan community because so many people were excited about the possibility of seeing her back. Social media exploded with reactions ranging from disappointment to anger to understanding, depending on which side of the situation people sympathized with. Some fans blamed WWE for not doing enough to make the deal happen, while others respect AJ's decision to walk away if the conditions weren't right for her. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle, with both parties having legitimate concerns that ultimately couldn't be resolved. Whether this door is permanently closed or just temporarily shut remains to be seen, but for now fans will have to accept that an AJ Lee return isn't happening anytime soon. Finally, we have the Brock Lesnar situation, and this might be the most surprising development of everything we've discussed today. Brock Lesnar has been a WrestleMania fixture for years, and his matches at the Showcase of the Immortals have become appointment viewing for wrestling fans around the world. He's faced everyone from Roman Reigns to Seth Rollins to Drew McIntyre to Bobby Lashley, and each time he's delivered memorable moments that people talk about long after the event is over. When planning for WrestleMania 42 began, there was an assumption that Lesnar would once again have a prominent spot on the card in a marquee match that would help sell tickets and generate buzz. The original plans reportedly had Lesnar working with a top-level opponent in a match that would have major stakes and potentially tie into ongoing storylines. Creative had been developing ideas for how to build toward this match and which direction would make the most sense given the current landscape of both brands. Lesnar himself was believed to be on board with working the event and was in communication with WWE about the specifics of his appearance. Everything seemed to be lining up for another classic Brock Lesnar WrestleMania moment that would add to his already legendary career. However, those plans have now been completely changed, and the match that was being discussed for Lesnar at WrestleMania 42 is no longer happening. The reasons for this dramatic shift are still emerging, but initial reports suggest that it involves a combination of creative differences and business considerations that made WWE rethink their approach. There's speculation that the company wants to focus on building newer stars and creating fresh matchups rather than relying on established names like Lesnar to carry major spots on the biggest show of the year. This would represent a significant philosophical change in how WWE books WrestleMania and could signal a broader shift in their long-term planning. Some sources are suggesting that Lesnar himself may have been the one to pull back from the commitment due to personal reasons or other opportunities outside of wrestling. Lesnar has never been someone who lives and breathes the wrestling business, and he's always been open about the fact that he works WWE dates because they pay well and allow him to maintain his lifestyle. If something else came along that was more appealing, or if he simply decided he didn't want to work that particular event, then WWE would have no choice but to adjust their plans accordingly. The unique nature of Lesnar's contract gives him flexibility that most wrestlers don't have, and that means he can pick and choose his spots in ways that others cannot. The cancellation of this match has major implications for WrestleMania 42 and how the card will be structured. Losing someone of Lesnar's caliber and drawing power creates a gap that needs to be filled with something equally compelling. WWE will need to elevate other talents and create new dream matches that can generate the same level of excitement and anticipation. This could actually be an opportunity for younger stars to step up and prove they can carry a WrestleMania main event level match without needing a legend like Lesnar to share the spotlight. The company has been talking about wanting to build new stars for years, and this situation might force their hand in actually following through on that goal. What makes all of this even more interesting is how these four separate stories might interconnect and affect each other moving forward. Rollins being injured could change plans for multiple wrestlers and open up opportunities for others to step into featured roles. The USO split will create new dynamics in both the tag team and singles divisions and could lead to unexpected alliances and rivalries. AJ Lee not returning means WWE needs to find other ways to generate excitement in the women's division and create moments that will keep fans engaged. And Lesnar's WrestleMania match being cancelled will force creative to rethink their entire approach to building the biggest show of the year. The next few months are going to be absolutely critical for WWE as they navigate these challenges and try to maintain momentum heading into their major events. The company has proven time and time again that they can adapt when circumstances change, but these particular situations are all happening at the same time, which makes things more complicated. How they handle the Rollins injury will show whether they've learned from past mistakes in managing talent health. How they book the USO split will demonstrate whether they can successfully create new single stars. How they move forward without AJ Lee will reveal their commitment to building the current women's roster. And how they restructure WrestleMania without Lesnar will prove whether they can create stars rather than just relying on established names. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an update on these developing stories and all the other breaking news from the wrestling world, because things are changing rapidly and you want to stay informed about everything happening in this industry.